I guess it just turned 7 as you answered that question, Marcus. So welcome to this webinar on tools for strengthening the parent-child relationship. My name is Sarah Agarwal, and I will be facilitating and kind of leading this webinar tonight. I just want to remind everybody that you can have your video off and to remain muted throughout the presentation. There will be time at the end where I'll take questions, and if you would like to ask a question, you can. Or you can always add questions in the chat box, and then once I finish the presentation, we will be able to kind of address all of those. Okay, so just to kind of introduce myself, I am a National Certified Counselor and a Licensed Professional Counselor Associate under the supervision of Bonnie Mondragon. I am receiving or getting my PhD. I'm a doctoral candidate in counseling from the University of North Texas. And my specialization has been play therapy as well as child-parent relationship therapy. And so really what I'm going to be teaching and kind of talking about today are the tools and the skills that I use in child-parent relationship therapy. And really, as a play therapist, I work with children across the lifespan. And what I have found is that, I can provide therapy with an individual child and work with them, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time to build a relationship, to build trust, and to kind of get that foundation. But if I can train parents, the skills that I use in therapy, the things that I do to build a relationship with a child, and that relationship is already there with the parent-child relationship, then the benefits are just way more than I could provide in therapy one-on-one with a child. And so really all of these skills that I'm talking about today are things that I actually use in therapy with children, but that I've seen when parents use them with their own child, it's a lot of times will help to decrease parent stress because parents feel like I have more tools in my toolbox. Children's behaviors decrease because they feel understood and seen in their world. And the parent-child relationship just has more empathy, is stronger, there's more communication. And so I'm really excited to be talking about this today. And this is really kind of where my heart lies. And so I'm excited to share this night with you guys. And yeah, let's get started. Let's jump in. If I can get it to work. Okay. So we're first going to kind of talk about how do you want your parent-child relationship to look? What is that? What does that mean to you? Because really, I can be here and I can share all of these tools and things, but really what's important is that you find something that's going to fit for your family. I may be an expert in child therapy, in the use of these skills and these tools, but you're the expert on your child and your family. And so, as I'm going through these today, something might work for one child and not work for another child. I've had that too, where I use this skill with my oldest, and that seemed great. And then my youngest, it was like, nope, they were not responding to that. And so, it's important to try out different things to figure out what works. But yeah, we'll start with kind of how do you want your relationship to look? And then I'll talk about reflective responding, which is one of the main skills that I use in therapy. Encouragement versus praise and kind of what that looks like and how to use that with your parenting. The importance of one-on-one time with your child. And then I'll go over some rules of thumb, which are like little sayings or slogans that I share with parents a lot when I work with them. And that's usually kind of helps you to remember some of the things that we're talking about today. So kind of, I'll be talking about all of these skills. It's from Child-Parent Relationship Therapy, which is by Dr. Gary Landreth and Dr. Sue Bratton. And so that's really the manual that I follow. Okay. So aren't these nice pictures? Look at these smiling families, these smiling parents, smiling children. I know that, the child-parent relationship does not always look like this, but, I wanted to start by saying, well, what does it look like? What do you want it to look like? And, I want to take a little bit of time for you as parents, as adults, to just kind of think back when you were a child. What did your relationship look like with the adults around you? It could have been your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, kind of that one adult relationship that you had in your life that you felt like was really special. And I want you to just kind of think about it for a minute. And usually when I ask parents to do this, there's a relationship that comes to mind. Usually it's, oh, it was, my grandparent, or, oh, it was my aunt, or, oh, it was this teacher in kindergarten that I had. And I always ask, well, what was it about that relationship that made you feel special? Was it things that the person said? Was it things that they did? Was it time they spent with you? And think about how, you as a parent want to be that relationship for your child. That 20 years from now, your child is asked this and they think about you. They think about, oh, my relationship with my parent, right? And so, sometimes as adults, we lose sight of that, or we don't always think about it in terms of, well, what really was special to me as a child was I had somebody that I could always talk to. How can I be that for my child now? How can I have that same type of relationship that was so special to me with my child now? Right. And sometimes, also thinking about, well, what didn't work? What relationships did you feel like the adults didn't understand? What did they do? Um, this is sometimes get us in the mindset of, okay, what's my intentionality? What are the things that I really want to value with my relationship with my child? Okay. So as we're talking today, it's important that we talk about the be with attitudes, which is what I like to kind of share first, because it's a state of mind, it's a way of being, it's a way that you are engaging within the relationship with your child. Okay. So when I'm engaging with my child, I want to be able to share that I am here. So that's not necessarily mean I'm physically right next to you, but nothing's distracting me. I'm focused, I'm fully present, physically, mentally, emotionally. That I'm not just in the same room, but I'm with you. I'm here in this moment with you. Okay. I hear you. Fully listening with my ears, my eyes. I'm seeing what you're expressing and what you're not expressing. Right. So this is, you bring the kids home from school one day and your child walks in the door, throws down the backpack and just goes straight to the couch. Right. I'm hearing what's happening. Oh, it seems like you had a rough day. Right. It's not necessarily what you said to me, but I'm attuning to all of the things that you're telling me through your nonverbals, your verbals, your expressions, the way that you are. And I'm hearing that. And then that means I'm understanding that third one. So I understand what they're communicating, what they're feeling, what they're experiencing. And if I'm able to convey all three, I am here, I hear you, I understand, then I'm conveying that I care. Okay. So these are big, important pieces to help your child feel understood, accepted, cared for, seen. That helps to enhance that parent-child relationship. So it really all starts with this way of engaging the relationship, the way that you're interacting with your child, and recognizing that sometimes it takes intentionality of nothing's distracting me. I'm listening. I'm fully attuning to you. I'm working to understand your world, and then I'm conveying that I care. Okay. So, kind of our first skill that we're going to go into, and this is really how you convey that third be with of I care by reflective responding. Okay. And so, reflective responding looks like you feel mad, you feel upset, you feel happy, you feel surprised, you feel excited. You're communicating an understanding and acceptance of the child's feelings and needs. And so, it's really important to do this. I always kind of break it down for parents of, you had the worst possible day at work. You were, traffic, you were late for a meeting, chewed you out. It's just the worst day. And then you walk in the door and you say, you're angry, you're upset, and your partner or whoever's kind of there is, well, I told you shouldn't take that route to work. And, your boss was just, you didn't do your work on time. Right. And they were giving you these excuses. Is that going to make you feel understood, cared for, seen? Personally, you don't understand, you don't get it, you like you make me so frustrated, you make me so mad. Right. And it's similar with our children. It's important to show that, you know, even if it's something that kind of seems small for us adults, right? Of they come to you and this toy is kind of broken or a piece fell off their toy and they're crying. To know that for them, big. This is the world. This is, they're expressing this big feeling because it's real to them. And so rather than, oh, you shouldn't have been playing it that roughly, or, that you aren't supposed to be playing with that toy. And like, oh man, you're really upset about your toy. Let's work together to fix it. Right. Because that's how we would want to be responded to too, in this way of, I see you, I understand. it sounds like a rough day. I'm validating and understanding and accepting that you have these feelings. Okay. So when we are reflective responding with our children, it's important to make eye contact, right? We think about, if my partner, when I come home, was saying, oh, it sounds like a rough day, but they weren't even they were looking in the fridge, right? Or I was talking to, maybe my sister about something, and they weren't actually looking at me. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel as genuine. It feels still dismissive. And so making sure that I'm looking at the child, and this also helps me to do that attuning, right? That I'm hearing everything that you're saying. I'm looking at your nonverbals. I'm making eye contact. I'm showing you I'm right here, right? So making that eye contact with the child, determining what they're feeling, determining what's going on for them, really working on that. I'm hearing everything that you're trying to express to me, and then putting that feeling into a short response. You're sad. You're really excited. You're mad that your toy broke, right? And so with these examples, sometimes what I find is that parents a lot of times seem to agree with the positive ones, right? You're really excited to see your friends today. Oh, sure. As a parent, I can do that. But you're angry that your toy broke. You're really sad. You're upset. You seem frustrated, right? Those are a little bit harder for parents to respond to, a little bit harder for parent to acknowledge. And it makes sense. As a parent, you don't want to see your child struggling. You don't want to see your child sad, or maybe feeling like, if I am acknowledging the anger, it'll get worse. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But these are some responding examples and ways to use reflective responding kind of in everyday speech. And I encourage you, kind of from this webinar, thinking of ways that, what is one reflection that I can maybe make to my child tomorrow or this weekend that uses you and some kind of feeling or some wish or some need that they're expressing to me. Okay. I don't see any questions so far, so I'll keep going. All right. So encouragement versus praise. So when we talk about encouragement versus praise, we're really talking about different things and different ways that it's kind of conveying meaning to the child, right? And so praise is, that's a beautiful picture, or I'm so, I love that. You did so good on that, right? Praise tells the child what you think about their abilities, and it teaches them that self-worth, the ways that they're able to do things is kind of based on what other people think, or maybe what other people value. Whereas encouragement acknowledges the effort. So we're really looking at that process, the way that they were able to do it, rather than what the outcome was, right? And so we're really wanting to help them build that internal locus of control, that motivation, that self-drive to say, I am capable, I know that I can do this, rather than I'm doing this so that other people like it, or it's more important that other people like it rather than I worked hard. Okay. So you're proud of yourself. You did it. You worked really hard. You use lots of colors. And it's hard to kind of exchange those ways of saying it, because as adults, we're almost trained to say, oh, wow, that's a great picture. Especially when, the precious child brings up this picture of rainbow and says, do you like this? Right? Where it's kind of this automatic response of, oh, I love it. It's wonderful. Right? But encouragement is really going to say, wow, you worked really hard. You wanted to show me that picture. You're proud of yourself, right? It's showing that there's a different thing that you are validating and encouraging, rather than the way that the picture looks, right? Because, I've seen a lot of children's drawings, and some are wonderful, some are just spectacular, and some are, oh, sweetie, that's a sweet picture. You worked really hard on that picture, right? We don't want to put value on it. We want to put value on the way that they were able to create something, the way that they were able to make something, and their pride and their excitement showing it to you. Okay. So other ways to use encouragement. So it's always important too, and this is hard, I think, for parents, but when a child is struggling with something, so it could be from when they're really young, just starting to learn how to tie their shoes, to when they're older in middle school and they're struggling with a homework problem. trying not to jump in, trying to kind of wait and see how they do it, to see what their response is to the struggle. Okay. And then whether if the child asks you to help them, um, being able to be there to support them, but encouraging them to figure it out, encouraging them to try and do something new, or, oh, you're really working on that, you're not sure how it gets open, those kinds of things. So the encouragement phrases you could use there, especially if it seems like something they can do. No, that seems like something you can do, or I think you might know how to do that. If you really think, it's different when it's like a 3-year-old and they're trying to open something and you're like, I don't think they can open that. I don't think they're capable of opening that. Allowing them to help you, to show you what they want you to do. We don't want them to struggle on something that they can't achieve. We want to make sure that it's something that they can do, and that when they are able to do it, you did it, you figured it out, because we're encouraging that effort. We're encouraging that they had something that was kind of hard, but they didn't give up and they continued trying and they figured it out, right? Because ultimately, as parents, that's what we want for our children. We want our children to be able to come up to adversity or a struggle or something that's hard, and for them to try, for them to put their best foot forward, to try their best to kind of have that effort and know that they are capable of succeeding. And so you know, that's kind of a big picture for, having them try to tie their shoes on their own. But we always want to make sure that we're encouraging early. We're encouraging that um, we do see the potential. We see how capable they are. Um, and even if it's something that they can't do yet, show me what you want me to do. Let's do it together. I think that I believe in you and I'm here to support you. And then doing it together, and, oh, we did it. We figured it out. We got it. You knew just how to do that. Okay. So we will spend some time here talking about one-on-one time. And so what do I mean by one-on-one time? Well, I always encourage parents. So if the child is between the ages of like 2 and 9, to have special play time, right? And if we think about it as parents, how many times do I go and I sit right next to my child and play? Not very often, and not often without my phone, right? I've got my phone, I have the TV on, we have, the computer right next to us. There's not a lot of opportunities or not a lot of intentionality in terms of I am wanting to be as fully present and engaged in this play, in this environment, in this experience with my child. And so, one of the tools for strengthening the parent child relationship is just spending time. But it's important that the time is no distractions, is child led. So the child is choosing what to do. So it might be, you know, um, they're 4 and they love playing dress up. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have our special playtime, and I'm not going to have my phone. We're going to have no distractions, and I'm going to play dress up with my child because that's what they want to do, right? So it's allowing them to show you what they're interested in. You're conveying that the thing that they love and enjoy, that is something that you want to do with them, that you enjoy spending that time with them as well. It conveys the interest in this child. And so, it conveys that you're valued, accepted, understood. And, as an adult, I recognize how much better I feel when I spend time with a friend, or I spend time, undivided attention with my partner, or, with somebody that I know just loves me, and somebody that maybe is my person, or even if it's, calling a friend on the phone. Think about how much better you feel after having that time, after being able to share that space with somebody, to be able to talk about things that are going on for you, or to laugh, or to just have fun, or, how special it would be if, you said, oh, I have to run some errands, and your friend said, I'll go with you, right? It's not the funnest, but that friend is willing to be with you because that's something that you need to do, or that's something that maybe you want to do. And so you can be that person for your child. And um, a lot of times it it seems simple, but it's a hard thing to do as parents. And so it does take intentionality. It does take really being mindful about kind of the space that you're in with your child, and making a plan to do that with your child. I talked about the playtime. And so if you have a child that's older, so between the ages of like 9 and whew, all the way, having time that's doing what they want to do. So I would say, like a 10-year-old, maybe they want to do some baking, or they really want to play board games together, or they maybe want to go outside and play catch or basketball. Um, Still allowing them to kind of choose the activity, and doing it with them, spending some time with them. Um, right. And I think back to my own childhood, and those were the special moments for me with my parents, was when we did things together like that. When it was, oh, I remember, my busy, but they would still come outside and play with me, or they would still, we would bake dinner together, right? And so knowing that in this moment, your child might look back on this and think of all those times and think of how special that was with you. Okay. And again, this is very conveying those be with attitudes of, I'm here, I hear you, I understand, and I care. Okay. So I'm going to address some common parent thoughts. And these are things that I've just gotten through the years working with parents. Is, some things that are kind of the hesitations or the questions, or, not sure about this or how this is going to work. Okay. So parents sometimes say, if I reflect that my child is angry, will this make them more angry? Right? That's a concern, right? Because when there's anger, a lot of times there's escalation, and a lot of times that comes with behavioral outbursts, that comes with tantrums, or having to set limits, or power struggles, and usually that's the main concern for parents, is around the feeling of anger, right? And I've worked with so many parents who almost tiptoe around that, right? Because it is such it feels so volatile. It feels so like it's going to happen at any moment, right? And I think reflecting feelings to children, not only just positive feelings, right? We can reflect all day, you're so excited, you're so happy to see your friends, but reflecting all the feelings shows that these feelings are valid, that people feel angry sometimes, and it helps them process, it helps them label what they're feeling, them communicate and express their feelings, right? I know that if I'm angry and I tell somebody how I'm really angry, and they tell me to calm down, or tell me to not yell, or tell me stop being angry, just think about something else, it makes me more angry, right? It escalates. That happens with children all the time. When you're not feeling like you're being heard, or not feeling like you're being understood, a lot of times the feelings feel like they're getting bigger. And so I always tell parents, you've been setting limits this child's whole life, so you know how to set limits, but adding in the feelings, adding in that reflection of, I know you feel really angry, or I know you feel really sad, and allowing your child to know, I hear you, and it's okay to feel angry, and then setting the limit of, but it's not okay to do these behaviors, or but it's not okay to do this, um, shows that you can be there, and that they can come to you, if they are having feelings, or are needing support for any reason. We're so busy. I don't think I have time for special one-on-one times. And so, I always say even small changes can make a difference. It might be, we're going to wake up early this weekend, and we're going to have a pajama pancake party, the 3 Ps, right? We're going to make pancakes, and we're going to be in our pajamas, and we're going to have a party and eat breakfast in bed, right? You're already making pancakes, you're already making breakfast, but the way that you are saying it's unique, it's special, it's something fun. We're gonna laugh, we're gonna enjoy to being together. Our phones are gonna be away, right? Those small changes can really make the difference. We can really make it feel intentional and feel special for the child. And so, sometimes it takes brainstorming. How can we do this? Or, I've worked with families where, let's divide and conquer. One parent takes this child, one parent takes this child, and you spend some time with each child, and then the next week you switch kids. um, Sometimes you have to be creative, or sometimes you have to think of, I have a little bit of time with my child driving home from school, maybe we'll make it music dance party day, or different ways to show that you care about your child, that you enjoy spending that time with your child, and even having your child come up with ideas too of, we have this 20-minute time where we're driving home, what would you like to do? Do you think maybe we should listen to a book together, maybe an audiobook, or do you think we should listen to music together? Allowing the child to have some autonomy too, and some can also really help to make it feel special and make it feel like you are um, doing all of these things to try to, understand your kid or show them how much you care. And then it's hard to use encouragement instead of praise. I'll have parents who will say this and they'll be like, oh my goodness, my child, they brought up their picture and they said, Mommy, do you like it? And I said, oh, it's lovely. I love it. And I go, oh my goodness, that's not what Sarah told me to say. I say, sometimes that happens. What's important is you recognized and trying again. So the next time she brings a picture, says, Mommy, do you like this picture? Saying, wow, and it might come out first. It might be like, I love it. And then follow it with praise or follow it with encouragement of, wow, I really love that picture. You worked really hard on it. You did that picture. You wanted to show me that picture. You use lots of colors. You can use them together. And it's important to find what fits for you and to not feel like you have to change everything at once. And so even those small changes are going to make that difference. Okay, let's check time. Okay, so here are some of my kind of rules of thumb to remember. And so these are just kind of fun, but they're really going to like focus in on what we've been talking about today, and kind of the main point of this webinar. Focus on the donut, not the hole. I always imagine if I was going to have a donut, it would be like the size of my face and it would have like chocolate glaze and maybe some sprinkles and maybe some cookie crumbles, right? So if I focus on the donut, I see all of that, all of the ooey, the gooey, the sweetness, the goodness, the things that make me so happy, right? I don't look at the whole. I don't see the thing that's missing. I don't see the problem. I don't see that whole. And so when you're thinking about your child, it's important to try to focus on those good things, those sweet, those wonderful things that make you smile, that make you so happy, and not the problems or not the things that are missing. And sometimes even just kind of switching that, or even just remembering all of those things that you love about your child and seeing those things can really help the way that you responding in a more calm way, responding in a more empathic way. Yeah, I don't always eat donuts like that, but I'm just saying for this example. Be a thermostat, not a thermometer. And so if you think about a thermostat adjusts the temperature to kind of regulate and make sure that the temperature maintains the same or stays the same. A thermometer, when the temperature rises, the thermometer measurement rises too. Okay. So when you're in a situation with your child and your child is escalating, remember to be a thermostat, to do what you can to maintain your calm, that your feelings, your things that are going on for you, your stress is not raising with your child's, but you're working to be a thermostat, to adjust, to regulate, to say, let's see if we can get everybody on the same temperature right now, right? A thermometer would, my child is getting angry, I get angry, right? So making sure that you remember that my feelings are different from my child's, and it's important that I work as well as I can to understand and be that thermostat. And I love this one. I use this one as like an adult. What's most important may not be what you do, but what you do after what you have done. Okay. So really what this is getting to is that we all make mistakes. As parents, as people, we make mistakes. And what's important is not always the mistake that we made, but what we do afterwards, right? Or, oh, I should have said this, or I said it a wrong way. What's important is what you do after, is if you make a mistake, being able to say, oh, I said that wrong, or I recognize that I maybe yelled when I shouldn't have, and being able to own that, right? I think back and, I don't think kids hear adults apologize very much. It's not something that I think happens a lot. And I think it can be a really great way to model what it looks like to say, I make mistakes sometimes, and I think this was a mistake, and I wish I could have done it differently, and I'm sorry, right? That lesson, that modeling that showing that, you care so much about the relationship to repair, can be really meaningful for a child and can really show that empathy and that understanding, and kind of model all of those things that we really want for our children. Encourage the effort rather than praise the product. And this is really going to our use of encouragement over praise. Okay. You can't give away that which you don't possess. So this is kind of that analogy with the oxygen mask on an airplane. It's been a while since some people have been on an airplane, but you remember the safety rules come and it says there will be an oxygen mask that drops if the air cabin pressure goes off. And they always say, put your mask on yourself before you help a mask for a child, or help you before you help the person next to you put on their mask. And so really, when we're talking about this and when we're talking about being that fully present, that be with attitude of I'm here, it takes some mental energy. It takes a lot from us as a parent to be able to provide that to our child. And so making sure that you are doing things to take care of yourself, the things that you need to do. When I have parents schedule their special playtime, their special one-on-one times with their child, I always ask, well, you say that you want to schedule it for Wednesday at 5 o'clock. What are you doing right before that? And they might say, oh, well, we walk right in the door at 5. It may not be the best time to have our special playtime, because if we're walking in the door and we're having, everything happening from the day, you know the scene, right? Of things get dropped off, we're rushing, we're moving. It's not a time that maybe you can be available, a time that you can be calm and be regulated yourself to be able to tune and convey that understanding to your child. And so always recognizing that you have to be in that space and you have to be able to provide that for your child. And so that's kind of that rule of thumb. And then don't try to change everything at once. It's sometimes when I work with parents, and I was very mindful for this presentation, just, parents are being told parenting advice before the child is even born, right? Of, oh, do this and then do this. And so, I wanted to make a presentation to help share these skills and share these tools, but also not wanting to overwhelm and not wanting to say these are all the right things to do, or this is what you should be saying, or this is how you should be doing. But wanting to provide more tools for your parenting toolbox. So don't try to change everything at once. If there's even a little thing or a small thing that you can do, a small step towards trying to focus more on the relationship, or a small change of giving an extra hug for your child that day, those are the things that are really going to add up and be really special for each of you, for the parent and the child. Okay. Are there any questions from people that are here live with us? I don't think I see anything in the chat. And I do have some books to recommend. Okay, I'll recommend some books, and I'll go check the chat box and see if there's any questions. So I like a lot of these books. So there's How to Talk So Kids Will Listen. This book was written by two parents who are also mental health professionals. And the way that they write it is with a lot of examples from their parenting struggles. They use comics, which is great. It's, I will read this kind of for fun, because you get a laugh out of, oh, that's happened to me too. That one, the kid on the couch. So this one's a really great read. It's really easy to read. It goes through a lot of the different steps. It talks more in detail about some of the things that we talked about tonight. And they also have the same book with teens. And so if you have a child that's older, that one's also really great. It has the cartoons and the comics as well. And it puts into kind of perspective some of those relational things, how to respond and how to encourage that active communication between your child, which is the basis and foundation for a really strong parent-child relationship. And then The Whole Brain Child is also really good. And this book really actually looks at more of like the neurodevelopment, what's happening in your child's brain, and how the ways that you're responding as a parent can help to strengthen their neural pathways, can help to um, increase connectivity in the brain, and really help with that cognitive development, social development, emotional development. And so if, this one's also a really interesting read. It talks about the developing brain and how to really kind of encourage growth there. Okay. All right. I think I have stopped sharing. Are there any questions or any thoughts that y'all are having? I'd much rather like have more of a discussion than kind of a lecture feel. So if there is anything from anybody. Okay, so I've got a comment of it's hard to apply this information when you're not on the same page with the other parent. And I agree that sometimes what can be helpful is making sure that both parents are on similar pages. But what I also like to share with parents is that, it can be, I have examples from when I have therapy with a child where if I'm working with this child once a week for maybe 30, 45 minutes, and I'm doing different skills with the child than the parents are doing, it's still beneficial. Because they still feel I'm understood, I'm valued, I'm seen within this one relationship. And because of that, I feel capable. I feel like I can do things. I feel my behaviors will start to shift. And so I always say, if a therapist who doesn't have a relationship with the child is able to use some of these skills, even when the rest of their environment doesn't change, it can still be beneficial and can still really help the child. And so I always encourage, even if there is one parent or one adult that's able to provide that environment, to provide that relationship for a child, it's going to be beneficial and it's going to be so special for that relationship. But I understand that it's, sometimes it does feel frustrating when you're trying one thing and the parent's on the different page. Or I even have parents who think they're on the same page, but they're really not on the same page. And that can be frustrating as well. Any other questions? Well, I can kind of stick around. I know we had the time for an hour. Love to hear any feedback that you have for me. I'm continuously working with parents. I do parenting groups, I do individual work with parents, as well as play therapy. So, any questions or anything, feel free to reach out and provide any feedback. I do have one question. Okay. First from Jessica, what would you recommend the step to be when you're trying to implement an intervention if the parents have their own mental health problems? Okay, so this seems like from kind of more of a therapy standpoint, it sounds like our mental health standpoint. Um, you know, I think everybody, especially with like the COVID pandemic, I've recognized that parents are struggling and it's hard to always do some of the skills or attune. And I think sometimes what's helpful is small steps and really building that relationship with the parents when I work with a child in therapy and saying, what is a small step? And, this webinar, this workshop kind of had a list of things, right, to kind of pick and choose. But usually I definitely assess what's the family's need, what seems to be kind of the main issue or the biggest issue that's affecting everybody, and what are small changes, what are small things that we can do. And I still maintain my same intervention in play therapy with the child, but bringing the parents in on what are some small things, what are ways, or even, here is something that I'm doing with your child that seems to be helpful, what would it look like for you to try? But sometimes, I know that parents struggle, and I do believe that children are resilient and children are strong and capable, and that if a child is provided a relationship that is validating and accepting, um, then, if that's either with me as a play therapist or with another adult in their life, that they will be able to find that resilience and overcome things that are happening around them. Oh, okay, yes. So Cynthia, you mentioned a theory or foundation in the beginning, but I missed it. So my play therapy is focused on child-centered play therapy, and the way that I work with parents is through child-parent relationship therapy. And this is really manualized treatment by Dr. Gary Landreth and Dr. Sue Bratton. Okay, and I have from Lisa, my son is 6 years old, and when we allow him to do something, he pushes the limits. That sounds about right. We say yes, then we say now this will be ending, and in the end we yell. Any recommendations when you think about yelling? I think it happens as parents. Some days we're the thermometer where it's we're already right here, and our kid comes in and is wanting something, and sometimes yelling happens. And I think it's important to recognize that what's not important is not always what you do, but what you do after what you did. And so it might take, I realize that I yelled, I shouldn't have done that. Um, you know, as a parent to kind of model that I was trying to communicate that I was angry, but I yelled. I also do teach parents therapeutic limit setting. And so therapeutic limit setting is a 3-step process. So it starts with acknowledging the feeling, which is part of the reflective responding that we talked about today, where it's really, you're feeling really angry, or you're feeling really upset, or you're feeling really mad. And then, but I'm not for hitting, but I'm not for yelling at, but the toy is not for breaking. You can, and then helping them to find alternatives. So as adults, we recognize that when we're angry, there's ways that we can cope. We go outside, we take a walk, we listen to music. We've learned how to use our coping skills as adults, but children don't know. So children actually have to be provided alternatives and provided ways to cope because they haven't built up that toolbox themselves yet. And so sometimes what can be helpful is, I know you're really angry, but I'm not for hitting. You can go and hit the pillow, or you can go, you can push against the wall. I've done wall pushes with children before, right? It's showing that it's okay to feel angry, but the behavior is not okay. So let's work together to figure out what behavior you can do to kind of get some of that anger out, or to express that you're feeling angry. And so that's the 3-step limit setting process. And again, I'm providing you tools and things that I do in therapy that help to build the relationship. It's not always going to work for every kiddo. And so a lot of times when I work with parents, we do individual approaches to figure out what's going to be the best. And how did that work? Let's tweak it. Let's figure out something else. Okay, Steve, I'm not really sure. Steven, I'm not really sure what to ask. That's okay. Rachel, do you think it would be a good idea to apply the effort, not product approach to the potty training a 2.5-year-old boy? That is a great question. And so I will say that potty training is a really, really big deal for children. A lot of times this is the first time they recognize they have some level of control over something. And there's the potential for like shame, there's the potential for autonomy and feeling of independence. And so it's important to really use encouragement if you can during those times. You're really trying, you're really wanting, and having empathy, right? Of, if the child is struggling, recognizing that it's hard sometimes, but that they're really trying, and that that they're trying, and that you can try again next time, or that we can, let's see if we can figure it out. Let's work together. Okay. But it is very important, especially during that age. That's really the first time that children start to learn whether they're capable of something, and kind of start to feel really proud about something. Yeah. Great questions. Are there any other questions? I have. This is kind of my last slide. I don't know why I didn't play it. But cute, smiling, happy kids. What we all want. And there's my email address. and please remember to fill out the feedback form, and I will stick around if there's any last minute questions. Thank you everybody for coming and attending, and being so open with questions. Thank you, Ashanti. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Um, Marcus, will this recording be available? I don't know if Marcus is still here. I think the recording will be available. You should get you registered to be able to access it and view it. It'll be uploaded to YouTube. I did get one more question. My husband likes to play adult music around our kids. Is this a bad idea? I see some laughter. Well, I think sometimes it. Oh, hi. That one. Sure. Yeah. So, I think toddlers sometimes soak up words, but they don't always know the meaning of words, or they don't always know what it is. I think having conversations about, this music we really like to listen to. And if they do pick up on that, that specific word that's, you don't want them to be saying around the grocery store, having a conversation about that word and about, this word means something and we don't say it. I think it happens, kids are sponges and they're going to pick up on specifically all of those things that you don't want them to pick up on, no matter even if aren't having the music playing around them. I mean, sometimes that happens. It's not necessarily bad. It's just being mindful that that's something that you may have to have a conversation about and being open to it. Mhm. That was pretty funny. Any other questions? I don't know if it would be helpful for anybody to have like my PowerPoint slides. I can forward those to Marcus to send out in the email for if that would be helpful, or always I'll put my email in the chat box too. If you are ever wanting to reach out to me personally. Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you guys for coming. That's all I have for y'all tonight. And it was just a pleasure to be able to be here and talk about one of my favorite things.